Thank you for listening to this Podcast One production. Now available on Apple Podcasts, Podcast One, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Coming up on this episode of Killer Gene's special series, part 2 of Was It Suicide or Was It Murder? The death of Daniel Underwood. An eyewitness to his death says Rebecca was the last person to have control of the gun.
Well, I went and knelt beside him, and I was telling her she needs to call 911, but she was going up and down the hallway saying, no, wait, hold on, just wait, give me a minute, hold on.
Hear from Rebecca, who tells a very different story. 2 women are the only witnesses to Daniel's death. Who's telling the truth? The following episode of Killer Genes contains graphic and sensitive information and material. Listener discretion is advised.
Emmy-nominated true crime journalists bring you cases like you've never heard them before. Hear first-hand accounts from the victims' families, private investigators, lawyers, law enforcement, and even the convicted. Giving you a complete 360 of the case like no one else can.
I'm Melissa McCarty.
I'm Kelly McClear.
And this is Killer Genes.
So I could see him, kind of telling her to get the F out of his house, because and nothing else really makes sense as far as why he would have done it.
Daniel Underwood's sister, Stacy, doesn't believe he would kill himself. The father of 3 died from a gunshot blast to the face. It was after an argument with his girlfriend, Rebecca Nelson, and a struggle over the gun that was all witnessed by their friend, Maria Harvick.
Sulphur Springs 911, what's your emergency?
My fiance shot himself in the head by accident.
He shot himself in the head?
Yes.
Where are you at?
331 Carroll Lane.
331 Carroll Lane? Hold on 1 second, okay? I'll get help on it. 203 has a call. Where are you at?
I'm right here in the hallway.
Can you be at the 331?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Just take a deep breath, okay, ma'am? What is your name? You're going to have to get...
My name is Rebecca.
Daniel's mother, Donna, was getting ready for bed when she gets a call from an unfamiliar voice.
And I had walked through the bedroom and talked to my daughter, was there in the bed, and went on through to mine, and Susan lay down, and the phone rang, and she was calling me Mom. And, it was just like, I'm trying to let it sink in. Who is this calling me? Because I knew I just talked to my daughter, and I did not know who she was by just her voice,
What time of night was it?
It was like 1:24 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And what were the first words out of her mouth, Rebecca?
Well, she said that Daniel had just shot himself. And, of course, I didn't know what. And I just started saying, you think he's going to be okay? And I could hear her turn around and talk to some man and saying, is he going to be, do you think he's going to be okay? And they just said no. And see, when we got up there, she was running around everywhere. They did not put her, tell her, you stay right here and stay away from everybody. They didn't separate her or nothing. And when we come up, it was kind of misty rain, and she was going out and hugging everybody that was around. And
so you and your daughter raced over to Daniel's house?
And my husband, he was alive then.
I remember I had just laid down, and I was thinking about texting him, but I was like, no, I'll wait. It was pretty late. And then I could hear her kind of screaming, is he okay? Is he okay? And I'm thinking, what's going on? Well, then she was got off the phone, and she told me to go get my dad, wake him up, and that we needed to go to my brother's house. But she wouldn't tell me anything else. So I remember I got Dad awake, and I went back to my mom, and I was putting on my shoes, and I kept asking her, and finally she was like, Bubba shot.
There was 2 ambulances there, and we thought, because they wouldn't let us in the house, and they had it roped off and told us to go into the hospital and wait there. And that's where we went to wait. And while we were there was these people showing up. And, when you're in shock anyway. You don't even think about it. And I didn't know that they were there relaying messages back to Rebecca while she was doing her interview.
As the family gathered at the hospital, a nurse came out to tell them Daniel had passed away. Donna said Rebecca immediately started saying she is the beneficiary of Daniel's belongings. At the same moment, Donna was trying to register her son's sudden death.
And by this time, I was just crying again, and I just held the phone away from me so she couldn't hear me crying, And I'm thinking, why are you cussing us? We don't even know. It's at the most shocking point of our life, and you're cussing us out. It was just unreal.
What did Rebecca tell you happened that night? What was the timeline of events that you either learned from Rebecca or from law enforcement?
She told us before the law got there to talk to us. When we went up, like I said, we've been the chaplain, and they released her, and she come up there, and I walked into the hall, and I said, now what happened? And she started telling me, and there wasn't a tear or nothing. She was squinting her eyes. And then when I seen Daniel's blood on her hands and her arms and stuff, and I said, is that Daniel's blood? And she was just like, she was so happy that I finally, realized and seen it. And people were trying to get her to wash her hands, and she didn't even want to wash her hands. And she said that he checked the bank account and that it was like $40-something.
Sorry, I'm going to have you take us back a little bit further. What were they doing that night prior to when he sat down at the computer? Like, did they go out for drinks? Were they at the house the whole night? Like, right before he sat down at the computer?
They had been out to the bars drinking and playing pool. And I don't know now. This is just what I've heard, that she was saying maybe some karaoke. And that when they come back, then supposedly Daniel had looked at the bank account. Well, in the police report, it's got that Daniel had looked at the bank account due to a lit cigarette in the ashtray sitting there by the laptop. And in the crime scene photos, there's no ashtray, there's no lit cigarette. There is her brand of cigarette sitting there, and Coke, which she always drank Coke and whiskey, and he drank beer. And that was what was sitting on the table by the laptop. Plus, I called the bank, and I couldn't understand how they got that screen right back up there because it had already logged out. It had like a 10 minutes or whatever was when you're not active on it. And it was logged back onto the bank account. So I kind of found that strange too. But anyway, I'm just saying that they use that as one of their facts that it was Daniel. And, they don't have any fact. They don't have any fact that it was Daniel.
Yeah, I wonder, did Rebecca have his login information? She must have.
Oh, well, yeah, she come back to the house and stole his laptop and stuff and wiped stuff off of it. And we had to hunt and peck and everything else to get, any logins and stuff that we could find on it. And she erased all his contacts off his phone. And, just all kinds of stuff that, we found checks where she had wrote, and it was like, I don't know, somewhere around $1,000. But she had signed Daniel Underwood, and I took him up to the police station, and he just told me to hang on to them. But since other people knew that she had used his account, because I'd already knew that it was, he had never put her on it. I'd checked with Frank, and he was the only signer on it. And she said the only person that would know would be her mama.
So what was her account of what happened? He went and checked his bank account, saw that it was in the red, or what was the dollar, or was there a specific dollar amount left? And then what transpired according to Rebecca?
It was like, I want, without looking, it was like $42, maybe something like that. And then she said he jumped up and said he was going to show her, and he went to the bedroom and got the gun out behind the headboard of the. But there wasn't a headboard on that bed, so I don't know what that was either. The shell that was in that gun did not even belong in it. They never did find a box of half a box of shells, and then he had some slugs too. They never did find that. She claims it was in the Durango, but we never seen them.
So he went to go grab, what kind of gun was it? And then what did she say transpired after he came back and brought this gun to the living room?
Okay. It was a 12 gauge. It was a sawed off, but it was a legal length. So the barrel part was like 18 and a half inches, and I don't have the measurement. We've got it all measured. But anyway, she said that she grabbed for the gun, and it moved and got the side of his face, and she got his hand. She ended up grabbing his hand. And the detective asked her later about, did she grab his hand? And she said, no, she didn't grab his hand. That she grabbed it after he was down on the floor. But that's a lie, because she told me straight up that she grabbed for the gun. Because at that point in my mind, I'm thinking, is it possible, she accidentally made it go off. That's what I'm thinking then. But after everything else, I'm like, no, I think this was fully intentional.
Hi, Killer Jeans listeners. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, I have a question for you. Do you work out? Maybe you do yoga or listen to this podcast to relax? Do you eat healthy to take care of yourself? That's all great, but what are you doing about your mental and emotional health?
Is there something interfering with your happiness or something preventing you from achieving your goals? What if I told you that there is convenient and affordable help out there?
BetterHelp, that's H-E-L-P, is professional online therapy that connects you with licensed therapists, where you can talk about your problems or issues or struggles or whatever's on your mind. And you can do it at a time and location that works best for you.
Now, BetterHelp is changing the way we approach mental health and making it easier than ever to schedule sessions with an experienced therapist that matches your needs. Take it from over, the 200 million plus people that have joined BetterHelp to start living a happier life today.
There's a special offer for Killer Jeans listeners. Get 10% off your first month. Just go to betterhelp.com/killerjeans. That's BetterHelp/killerjeans. Because your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Get started today at betterhelp.com/killerjeans. Before we strip down the forensics and why nationwide experts are saying Daniel's death was no suicide, listen to Rebecca tell her version of events to lead detective Bo Fox over the course of multiple interrogation interviews. Detective Fox starts off by asking Rebecca about her relationship with Daniel and their financial situation.
Now, y'all were engaged?
Mm-hmm.
When was the engagement?
A month ago.
There's all different kinds of relationships people have, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And some people fight a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? That's the way the whole relationship is. Other people never have arguments with their spouse or their fiance or whatever. How would you describe your relationship?
Never argued.
Never? Everything was always
Everything was
pretty much good?
hunky-dory.
Okay. Now, do you work?
I work for my parents still.
What do you do for them?
Data entry secretary.
Do you make a salary?
Hourly
wage. What about him?
He has recently quit hydro aluminum and commerce.
Why he quit?
He was tired of working nights all the time.
Now, did y'all rent that house that on Fairmont? He owns it. You make payments on it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is the house? What's the payments on that house? $600 a month. Now, so y'all was living.
The taxes and everything and the insurance.
So y'all was living on what you make?
No, we've been living off his 401k.
Okay. So off his retirement, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that 401k from? You know.
From Hydro.
So he worked out there a while.
6 years. 6.5 years.
How did he feel about all this, about not working?
He was fine with it. He wanted to take a couple weeks off.
So you wouldn't say he was depressed?
He never seemed really depressed. I noticed on the way home from East Fort tonight, he didn't say a word on the way home.
Was he pretty... How would you describe his personality? Was he an even-keeled person, or was he a roller coaster type person?
Even. I mean, he was just pretty moderate all the time.
Okay. So what is y'all's financial system? Now, do y'all have separate accounts? Separate checking?
No.
Y'all are all together?
Yeah, I use his checking account and everything.
So you put your paycheck in his checking account. How would you describe y'all's financial situation here in the past since you quit his job?
It's been fine.
Okay. And
like having a $25,000 check, he put it in the bank, and that's what we've been living on.
Okay.
He had a couple of loans out at the bank. He paid those off, and he owed his ex-father-in-law like $3,000. He borrowed that, waiting on his check to come in. It took like 30 days. And he gave that back to him and put the rest of it in the bank.
The detective is referring to Daniel's 401k he cashed out after quitting his aluminum plant job. He received $25,000 and paid off some debt. Then he discovered a chunk of the remaining money was missing. His bank account was now in the red. On September 4th of 2008, Daniel discovered his account was bled dry. He would be dead later that night.
Did y'all wake up together?
Mm-hmm.
What time do you think you woke up?
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
1 o'clock in the afternoon?
Mm-hmm. We sat up watching movies, huddling on the couch all night last night.
Hours later, they went their separate ways for a bit, then met up again for lunch in the late afternoon.
We went over to that new Mexican restaurant, and we were laughing and cutting up, and he was in a wonderful mood.
Their night out started with happy hour.
Y'all drank some beer?
Yeah, we had a couple of beers, played some pool. Nina, the old bartender over there, was getting irate with everybody at the bar. God, she was so drunk. And she started in on Maria, my roommate. And since Nina and I had known each other for like 5 or 6 years, never had a problem. I just said, hey Nina, it's just cool, let's go back and sit down, and no big deal. And Nina walked around Maria, and then walked around Daniel, walked around me, and stood right here next to me, and I thought everything was over. The next thing I know, she grabbed me by the hair and pulled me out of the bar still backwards.
Okay.
And by the time I got away from her, Daniel had locked his arms around her to get off of me. And everything was fine after that, and then they escorted Nina out.
How much do you think Daniel had to drink at the lounge?
Let's see, he had 1 bottle. He had 3 mugs, which are supposed to, they said, were 25 ounces apiece, and then he had 1 more bottle.
2 bottles, 3 mugs?
Yeah.
Daniel's mother, Donna, had stated that she had received an email from one of his friends saying Daniel knew about the missing funds. Did he suspect Rebecca stole the money and was going to tell her to move out? Well, according to Rebecca, all was well with their relationship.
Were you planning on leaving them?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I've heard that rumor too.
Do you know why people would be saying that right now?
I have no idea.
Okay. But you were not planning on leaving?
No. We were planning a vacation this weekend because my birthday's tomorrow. We were going to Shreveport for the weekend.
Okay.
I mean, we already set a wedding date, and, we had plans set up.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit about the gun, and I'm just going to sort of skip around here, okay? Because I've got just some different things I want to talk about. The shotgun. Where did that shotgun come from? Do you know?
I thought it came from his dad. I thought his dad gave it to him. That's what he told me, I thought. But I've heard around town that some guy named Mike gave it to him, or Brandon gave it to him. I've heard 3 different stories, so I don't know.
Had you seen the shotgun before?
Yes.
When was the first time you saw it?
When I moved in, because he kept it behind his side of the bed, loaded.
Now, you say y'all shared that checking account?
Well, I wasn't on it, but he gave me his checkbook and his credit cards, and for me to use because I deposited my checks in that account.
So you signed some of his checks? Did you sign his name or your name?
D. Underwood. That's what he told me to write.
D. Underwood. And you had his permission to do this?
Yes, I did.
Would anybody else know this?
My mother.
When the gunshot went off, actually, did you actually see him? Did you actually see him when the gunshot went off?
He was 6 inches from my face.
He was 6 inches from
like
your
I
face.
said, I've got a bruise still here from the butt of the gun.
Right.
We were face to face.
Were you holding his hand at that time?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't remember. I didn't remember you saying that, but again,
no, I had dropped to my knees, and when I stood back up, is when he shot the gun, is when I stood back up.
Listen closely to this next clip when Detective Fox asks Rebecca what happened to Daniel's belongings, including his cell phone.
Did you...
They were there when I handed over
his cell phone. Now, you given it to his parents, right? And the computer also, is that right?
Yeah, I just wanted to get my stuff off.
Did you erase everything off of both of them?
I just erased my stuff.
Off of what? The computer?
The laptop, yeah.
What about the phone?
I didn't erase anything off the phone.
Did anybody you know erase anything off the phone?
Yes.
What?
Jason erased the numbers.
Jason?
I don't know his last name. Cheney's husband.
Who's Cheney?
His best friend. I don't know their last name.
Who's best friend?
Daniel.
Daniel's best friend's husband? You don't know their last name and their best friends?
I just met Cheney the other day. They always talk on the phone. Davis Street.
Davis Street? Where at? Why?
Because I asked him to. I asked him to get my numbers out. My friend's numbers and my number.
Well, I understand just about everything was taken out.
Well, when I dropped it, the battery came out. He's had problems with that phone. It's erased numbers before. I just had him erase my phone number.
I can take battery out of my phone.
I know. His was messed up, though. It's done it before with us. But I just erased my phone number, my parents' phone number, and...
I don't understand the purpose of doing that.
Because I knew she was going to start with me. Because of what's going on, that has somebody to blame, and I didn't need her calling any of my friends, because the kind of slander she's doing in town. I mean, I went to look for a job yesterday, because now I have to get a job, and nobody will even look at me for an interview.
When you erase stuff, you just give her ammunition.
Well, yeah, and I thought about that yesterday when they met me at my mom and dad's.
What all did you erase from the computer?
Just my personal stuff. I didn't erase it. I downloaded it on, well, I guess I did erase it from the computer. I just downloaded my divorce papers that I had on there. My file that I had transferred over from my mom's computer to that one fell on disk. That's all I did.
Did anybody else erase anything else?
No, nobody else touched the laptop.
So none of his stuff is erased off there? No banking stuff is erased off of there?
No.
The only thing you erased from it is...
My file.
Your file? And what does your file consist of?
My daughter's pictures, divorce papers that are mine, my resume.
Rebecca admits to erasing all data from Daniel's cell phone and laptop. After addressing multiple rumors swirling throughout the small town of Sulphur Springs regarding Daniel's death, Detective Fox addresses rumors related to none other than him.
The other thing I'm being told is that you have said that you and I were having some sort of relation.
What? I said that you had a case that you helped tips on before. That's how I knew you.
Okay.
I would never... Oh, my God.
Because that's not true. That's
not true.
Okay.
No, I never said that.
Rebecca was allegedly telling people she had helped Detective Fox with the case in the past. Remember this. She then keeps referring to Jason, Daniel's best friend, who erased all ties to her and the contacts on his cell and laptop by her request.
I don't care. There's no reason to do any of that, okay? That doesn't look anything but bad. Anything but bad to do that, okay? Now, I'm going to take that stuff and I'm going to have it examined forensically to see why in the heck you're erasing stuff off of it. I just don't want any more surprises in this investigation, okay? That's what I don't like being blindsided by anybody.
I know, me neither do I. And I didn't think anything about it at the time, and now I do understand.
One more question I want to ask you. Are you married right now?
Yeah.
You are married right now?
Mm-hmm.
But you were engaged.
Yeah, we were working on my divorce.
Rebecca says Daniel was angry over his account balance and missing money.
We always check the bank account at night when we've been out, so we know how much.
You know what Maria was doing when
she was changing?
She was changing.
She was talking to Jimbo on the phone in her bedroom and changing her clothes.
Okay.
And,
you checking your bank statement online?
Yeah.
You do that every night?
Every night and every morning. We do that every night and every morning.
Who was checking you?
He was.
Okay. Was he sitting on the couch right next to it?
Yeah, right next to it. That was his spot on the couch. He said, well, come here, I want to show you something. And I was like, what? You know, I was already comfortable with my spot on the couch, had my shoes kicked off, feet up on the couch, you know, and so I get up and I go over there and I look, and he said, we've got all our bills paid and we're still like $42 in calls. And I said, that looks pretty good if all our bills are paid, you know. And he said, what am I supposed to do about, what am I supposed to do, Rebecca? And I said, well, I don't know, let's just worry about it tomorrow, because he was drunk. And he was like, no, Rebecca, what are we going to do? And I said, well, I can get a better job. I know Mother's not paying me that much. It's no big deal. Let's just worry about it tomorrow.
When did you discover this money was unaccounted for?
Oh, when he kept the cash there at the house in a jar, and he told me to go get a $100 bill out of there to put gas in the truck one day, and I like to keep account of how much money.
Where did he keep his jar?
It was a jar on the mantle there, separating the kitchen and the living room. That
Is there any money left in that mantle now? Okay. So the $2,000 wasn't unaccounted for out of your checking account, but it was unaccounted for in cash.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca says that Daniel ran for the shotgun and a struggle in the hallway went on for a few minutes. She then says whose finger was on the trigger.
I grabbed the top of the gun.
Where are you at when you grabbed the gun?
Well, he had turned me around by then. So my back's against that middle door.
He turned you around?
Mm-hmm.
So how did the contact begin?
I don't know. Like I said, I grabbed the top of the gun.
Did he grab you and turn you around?
No, he turned the gun. So I went with it because I had a hold of the top part where the bullet comes out.
And he turned around?
My finger's on top of it. He turned around, I turned around with it. My finger's on the top with it.
Okay, so what position are you in now?
My back's against that linen closet door.
Okay.
And he's in front of me, like right here.
Okay, now, what is the front of the gun or the back of the gun facing you? Can you remember? Okay.
The guard's still out.
The guard is facing you?
Yeah, where the trigger is.
Okay. Is the gun still pointed up? Or pointed to the chin? Okay. And you still have a hold of the barrel?
Whatever the problem is, we can fix it. Just put the gun down.
Did you grab the gun again? Or?
I didn't grab the gun again because the look in his eye.
Yeah.
It's like he was trying to... He finally took the gun out from under his chin, but he still had it up. And his finger was still on the trigger. I don't know if he was going to set the gun down, what he was doing. He didn't say a word. He just bent over and shot. He he hit the floor. He just dropped. I ran down the hallway to the living room to get his phone, and I dialed 911. I ran down the entryway to unlock the front door and swing the door open so the paramedics.
Maria Harvick, who was at the house that night, said Daniel's finger was off the trigger. That's why she turned her head. She also said they hesitated in calling for help.
What happened between you and Rebecca after Daniel was shot?
Well, I went and knelt beside him, and I was telling her she needed to call 911, but she was going up and down the hallway saying, no, wait, hold on, just wait, give me a minute, hold on. And I told her, wait for what? I said, we need to call 911. And so I got up and was fixing to go down the hall to get the phone and call. And then that's when she said, no, I'll do it. And she ran into the living room and grabbed his phone. And finally, but before she called, she told me not to tell them that they'd been arguing and everything from the bar and stuff. And not to tell them about her getting jealous about that lady playing pool.
Rebecca told Detective Fox that Daniel never talked about suicide or that he was depressed, but then later says he did make a heartfelt confession to her.
Has he ever talked about hurting himself, suicide, anything since you've known him?
When we first got together, he had told me that if I hadn't came into his life when I did, that he wouldn't be around now.
Did you elaborate on that?
No.
Did you ever ask him what he meant by that?
He said he had given up on life.
Detective Fox concludes his interview with Rebecca and offers his condolences and the uncertainty of understanding why a loved one would take their own life. Even though Rebecca admitted to struggling with Daniel over the shotgun, it wasn't investigated as a homicide or even determined to be an accidental shooting. It was ruled a suicide.
Following her instincts that were telling her her son Daniel's death was no suicide, Donna puts on her detective's hat, requesting public records, even filing subpoenas to get all evidence surrounding her son's death.
You said that you examined all of these crime scene images, which has to be really difficult to do as a parent who just lost her son. I mean, you're now wearing the hat of a detective to try and figure out and get answers. I know that must have been trying on you. Did you?
Yes. Well, it took me, from the time we got them, December 30th. And, of course, we went through them, but it was, it was horrible. But that whole year, I can just remember staying up and trying to see what, was it like it would have been, suicide.
Donna requested Daniel's laptop back from Rebecca. When she received it, she searched through the whole thing. All the files and internet usage she could get access to, and she says it included the computer's history on the day he died.
But what really got me is on the 9th and the 4th, which is the day that Daniel died, that afternoon, it shows it on 1809, which I guess that was 409, that she's playing poker, I guess it is, billboard, and it's his billboard card, and she's putting her chips up on the dealer tray or whatever you do to that, and it goes for a while. She's playing poker that day, and I'm just like, I just cannot fathom you're telling me or anybody that you cared anything about him, and you're on his laptop playing games the same day he died. I just floored me. And I have also where she kept Daniel's phone, and she was pulling his phone out of her pocket, some pulling her phone out, and before while she was in the interviews. And that I have records where phone calls she made, and she made some, before she ever got the GSR done on her hands too. So there you've got her pulling her hands in and out of her pockets. You've got her hugging on people. You've got her out in a misty rain before she gets her hands done for the GSR. So all of it, it's just a little bit here and there. I go back to when they always told me, now, Mrs. Underwood, and I thought at that time, maybe I am looking, too far into stuff and thinking, but, even now, I'm not doing it for revenge. I just, somebody does something and they need to be held accountable.
Do you believe your son was murdered, or are you just still unsure? Let's take into
I believe he was murdered.
You do?
I believe after he found out that all that money and the cash was gone, and I believe he was murdered.
Stacy said it's been difficult watching her mom dive into every detail of Daniel's death.
At first, seeing her look through all the photographs and everything, it was sad, and it was heartbreaking that, any mother or any person should have to do that. And then after, the kind of overwhelming sense of all that went through us and everything, then it was more of okay, well, we're looking at this because we have to find answers, because he's not going to get any, from the police here or whatever, we're his only voice now. We have to find something that's going to help, get justice for him.
Coming up on part 3 of this special suicide or murder case, Daniel Underwood's mom hires a private investigator and forensic expert.
What was your impression of the case file?
Poor job done by law enforcement.
And years later, another witness with damaging information against Rebecca comes forward.
I just thought she was some drug girl just talking crap, And it was literally 2 years later that I actually read the article that they had posted in Sulphur Springs, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, that story that girl told me is actually true.
Thanks everyone for listening. Follow Killer Jeans on Facebook and on Instagram. It's at Killer Jeans, the podcast.
Also, be sure to like and subscribe to Killer Jeans on Podcast One, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts.